Hello, and welcome all to Movie Hunter, the show that tracks down the quality of all sorts of movies. My name is Hunter, and today in the 16th episode, our target is 1992's Aladdin, produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios, then called Walt Disney Feature Animation, and distributed by Buena Vista Pictures Distribution, now called Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. In 1988, a famous lyric writer for Disney movies like The Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid, Howard Ashman, pitched the idea of an adaptation of the Middle Eastern folktale Aladdin, and he and his partner Alan Menken wrote several songs and added characters to the film. However, the CEO at the time, Michael Eisner, didn't think that a film taking place in the Middle East would perform well, and so the production was put to a halt. And so Ashman and Menken were brought to write songs for Beauty and the Beast. The film was given a chance again when directors Ron Clements and John Musker were offered 3 projects, and they chose Aladdin. Unfortunately, in March of 1991, Howard Ashman tragically passed away, though he and Menken had already written multiple songs for the film, which mostly stayed in the final cut. Production continued and was going well until studio chief Jeffrey Katzenberg, on a day known to the staff as Black Friday, requested a rewriting for the entire script without changing the film's release date, which resulted in Ted Elliott and Terry Lucio being brought in to write the story. The film released on November 11, 1992, and earned $504.1 million on a budget of $28 million, becoming the highest-grossing film of 1992, as well as the 30th Walt Disney Animation Studios film, after 1991's Beauty and the Beast and before 1994's The Lion King. The film also saw critical success, with many audiences and critics alike praising the film, and the film being nominated for 45 awards, of which it won 26 of. The film also saw 2 direct-to-DVD sequels, The Return of Jafar in 1994 and Aladdin and the King of Thieves in 1996. It also had a series called Aladdin the Animated Series, a video game tie-in, and a live-action adaptation in 2019. The directors were John Musker and Ron Clements, who were also the producers and the writers of the screenplay, alongside Ted Elliott and Terry Lucio. The film was based on the folk tale titled Aladdin and the Magic Lamp from the collection 1001 Nights. The editor was H. Lee Peterson, and the composers were Howard Ashman and Alan Menken. For some reason that I could not find an answer to, the story is credited as being written by many people. These people are Bernie Madison, Roger Allers, Dan Jippers, Kevin Harkey, Sue Nichols, Francis Glebas, Garrel Rooney, Larry Lecker, James Fuji, Kirk Hansen, Kevin Lima, Rebecca Rees, David S. Smith, Chris Sanders, Brian Pimentel, and Patrick A. Ventura. The cast includes Scott Weiner, Linda Larkin, Jonathan Freeman, Robin Williams, Frank Welker, Gilbert Gottfried, and Douglas Seal, with Brad Kane, Bruce Adler, and Leah Salonga providing the singing voices for some of the characters. The film opens to a merchant selling his wares and beginning a tale about a magic lamp. We cut to a man named Jafar and his talking parrot Iago emerging from the ground a giant cave shaped like a lion's head called the Cave of Wonders, and being told that only a special person can enter, who is the Diamond in the Rough. We then meet our protagonist, Aladdin, with his pet monkey Abu, who are running from guards after stealing a loaf of bread. They get away, and we learn about Aladdin's desire to not be seen as a street rat. He then meets a girl in the streets who he saves from the guards and falls in love with, who turns out to be the princess Jasmine and is returned to the palace. Jafar, who turns out to be the royal vizier to the Sultan, throws Aladdin in prison for the kidnapping of the princess, though tells Jasmine that he has been killed for the crime. Jafar previously performed a spell to tell him who the Diamond in the Rough is, finding out that it is Aladdin, so, under the disguise of an old man, frees Aladdin from prison and takes him to the Cave of Wonders. He tells him to go in, but only to grab the lamp. However, Abu grabs some treasure and causes the cave to collapse on itself, and so Aladdin grabs the lamp and Abu and takes his newly found friend, the magic carpet, to fly out the entrance, but fails to make it in time and becomes trapped inside. He rubs the lamp and a genie emerges who tells him that he has 3 wishes and that Aladdin is his new master. Aladdin is able to trick him into letting him out of the cave without using a wish, and the genie explains the rules of the wishes. The most affecting Aladdin's plan: you can't wish for anyone to fall in love with anyone. Struggling to come up with a good wish, Aladdin asks the genie what he would wish for, to which he tells him that he wants to be free of the job of being a genie, always needing to serve people, to which Aladdin promises his 3rd wish to let him free. Aladdin then wishes to become a prince, after thinking that it is the only way he has a chance, due to the law that the princess must marry a prince. Also, it's important to note that Jasmine previously escaped the palace to be free of having to be married off to someone else's choice before her next birthday. However, the genie grants the wish, making Aladdin into Prince Ali, who makes his way to the castle and presents himself to Jafar and the Sultan. The Sultan is convinced of his greatness, but Jafar is upset by his appearance, as it interferes with his new plan to try and marry Jasmine to become the Sultan that way. Jasmine is upset by his appearance, however, but Aladdin visits her that night, and they take a romantic carpet ride across the world, at the end of which Jasmine tricks Aladdin into revealing his true identity of Aladdin, but he is able to lie to her again by stating that he simply enjoys pretending to be a common man to escape the pressures of castle life, which Jasmine relates to. Later, Aladdin is kidnapped by Jafar and tied up and thrown into the ocean, but the genie is able to save him by using his 2nd wish, and Aladdin goes back to the palace to reveal Jafar is a fraud and get him fired. The genie then requests his freedom per Aladdin's promise, but Aladdin denies it to him, worrying that his lies will crack if he were to lose the genie's help. The genie returns to his lamp, and Iago steals it and brings it to Jafar, who wishes to become the Sultan and then a powerful sorcerer, and now has the genie on his side, though the genie is resentful of this fact. Aladdin goes to help, but is revealed to everyone as Aladdin and not a prince, and Jafar sends him away, Abu and the magic carpet as well. Aladdin saves Abu and the magic carpet, and they ride back to the palace to confront Jafar, who turns into a giant snake and traps Jasmine in a giant hourglass, pouring sand on her. Aladdin is then able to trick Jafar into using his final wish to become a genie, as the most powerful being, however, comes with the side effect of being trapped in a lamp, which the genie sends flying into the horizon. With everything restored, Aladdin apologizes to everyone, but Jasmine still loves him, and the Sultan, seeing Jasmine happy, changes the law so that they can be married. Aladdin uses his final wish to set the genie free, and the film comes to a close. The first thing I'd like to discuss is the story. Similar to Toy Story, I think that we can all agree that Aladdin is a classic movie. However, unlike Toy Story, which I specifically called a story/concept classic, I would say that Aladdin more so fits the mold of what I would call a tonal classic. A tonal classic is a bit harder to give examples for, as it fits a much broader category of movies. But essentially, the idea is that Aladdin gives off a very specific tone that it is well remembered for. These things include the music, such as You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me and A Whole New World, and the characters, most prominently the genie. Other things, such as the comedy, the way the story is presented/delivered, and the environments also contribute to this, and gives Aladdin a very specific tone/vibe. Other films that I think would fit this mold, that I can think of right off the top of my head, include The Princess Bride, Ice Age, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Goonies, The Jungle Book, Shrek, and other Disney Renaissance films like Beauty and the Beast and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Films, I think, can range and be included in multiple categories of classics, But a defining characteristic of a tonal classic is their uniqueness. These films that I picked all stood out to me for any number of reasons, such as the art style, the characters, the music, really just anything that provides a very unique vibe to it that makes it feel like it's alone in its own genre. I think that Aladdin is a really good example of this, for reasons that I'll be stating throughout the video, but I think that its art style is one of the things that really works. The sandy terrain, the occasional 3D models for mystical things like the Cave of Wonders, the unique character designs for characters like the magic carpet and the genie, and the mixing and clashing of somewhat mundane town and its magical secrets, from the lamp to Jafar's staff. These just give Aladdin a very memorable appearance that aids in its classic title it so often receives. While we're on the topic of tone, let's talk about Aladdin's music. As I did in my Toy Story video, I will rank the songs with lyrics, as it allows me to discuss my opinions of the movie in a more concise and accurate way. What I personally look for in a song, in my unexperienced expertise, as I'm sure you're about to find out, are relevance to the scene they are in, and if I find the tune catchy. There are 7 songs that technically count, so let's get to it. In 7th place, Street Rat, a rather short and unmemorable song, and is also the 3rd one in the first 10 minutes of the film. Not bad, but somewhat unneeded and not really revealing of any Aladdin's character that we didn't already know, and not particularly catchy. In 6th place, Prince Ali Jafar parody. For those confused, this is a parody of Prince Ali sung by Jafar at the end of the movie, mocking Aladdin's fake identity. I debated whether or not this even counted, but it has unique lyrics, so I guess it does. Anyhow, it does the job, and it's fun, but a villain song would have been better. In 5th place, One Jump Ahead, much more catchy and fast-paced than Street Rat. Has some fun rhymes, and pretty well summarizes Aladdin's character. In 4th place, Arabian Nights, really atmospheric and fun song. It loses points for being sung by a character who opens the film but never comes back to close it, which is odd and feels like something that was supposed to be cut but wasn't. Regardless, it's still a good way to open up the movie. In 3rd place, A Whole New World. Romance is not my favorite, but even I can't deny the greatness of this song. Really catchy and fits the story equally well as well. With a great ending in which Jasmine reveals that she knew it was Aladdin the whole time, which would have otherwise really destroyed the song. In 2nd place, You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me. Obviously iconic for many reasons. It works both visually and musically, and is a great introduction to the genie. Tons of fun. And in the 1st place, Prince Ali. Really great song that both shows Aladdin's descent into his own deception, and a place for the genie to show off his magic some more. Speaking of him, the genie has a lot of funny lines and visual gags placed throughout the song. Definitely my favorite. Overall, the songs are really good on average, with no real bad songs, and some truly exceptional ones. Getting into the discussion of the characters, let's start with the title character himself, Aladdin. Aladdin is a pretty good protagonist. He's fun and charismatic. His somewhat brief setup is really well executed and manages well with its small amount of time. His song, One Jump Ahead, sets up his character nicely by having him dodging and weaving countless guards for stealing a loaf of bread. And I like the lyrics about how easy it is for him to win because of his clever nature, but also his mild annoyance about the fact that he has to do all this work for a single loaf of bread that he is going to share half of with Abu. And then the ending, with him escaping the guards and about to feast, but seeing 2 children in the streets and hesitating, but knowing that he has to give the bread to them. And Abu ending up doing the same is also sweet. Aladdin's issues are pretty self-explanatory. He feels trapped by his status as a street rat. He also has no money, and so people treat him differently and have a bias against him. This is evident in the song when Aladdin says that if he didn't have to steal to eat, he and the guards would get along, to which the guards instantly respond they're wrong. When he meets Jasmine, who is disguising as an average citizen because she also feels trapped, more on her later, Aladdin falls in love with her, but loses that hope when he learns that she is a princess and that she has to marry a prince, his social status once again trapping him. Aladdin gets put in prison by Jafar, who needs him to enter the Cave of Wonders, because he is the diamond in the rough. Though Jafar creates the ruse that he had killed Aladdin for kidnapping the princess. Under the disguise of an old man, Jafar frees Aladdin from prison and takes him to the Cave of Wonders. Aladdin goes inside and grabs the genie's lamp and is unknowingly able to keep it from Jafar thanks to Abu, with Jafar now thinking him dead after the cave collapses. Aladdin grabs the lamp, summoning the genie, who tells him that he is his master and that he will grant him 3 wishes, finally giving Aladdin a chance. First, Aladdin uses his cunning abilities to trick the genie into getting them out of the cave without using one of his wishes. Then, since he can't wish for anything more direct, Aladdin wishes to be a prince so that he isn't with Jasmine, but he feels like he has more of a chance. Under the ruse of a great prince, Aladdin tries to impress Jasmine, to no avail, as she doesn't care about money or power or fame or wealth. Aladdin, however, actively resents the person he used to be and believes that Prince Ali is the only way Jasmine will love him. After the romantic carpet ride, Aladdin continues his lies even after Jasmine finds out who he is, by saying that he sometimes dresses as a common man to escape, similar to Jasmine, who begins to fall for him. With Prince Ali getting in the way of Jafar's plans, Jafar has him nearly drowned, but the genie is able to save him by using his second wish, and Aladdin finds out Jafar for the fraud he is. Aladdin, with one wish left, denies the genie his promised freedom for the fear that he will lose Jasmine if not for his help. This is where Aladdin's lesson that needs learning really starts to show. He was jealous of things he didn't have, and when he gets them, he becomes selfish, greedy, and believes that his past self to be worthless to him getting what he wants. It's such a sad moment when the genie is denied his freedom by Aladdin, just like he predicted when Aladdin first brought up the idea, and he says to Aladdin, "Fine, I understand. After all you've lied to everyone else, hey, I was beginning to feel left out," before retreating to his lamp. Aladdin gets angry at him and then also at Abu and the magic carpet being left alone. This is when he realizes his mistakes and goes to apologize, but it is too late as Jafar has stolen the lamp and uses his first 2 wishes to become the Sultan and a powerful sorcerer, revealing Prince Ali as Aladdin to everyone, and sends Aladdin away. Aladdin, now having accepted his mistakes, saves Abu and the magic carpet and goes back to the palace to save Jasmine and the Sultan. He saves the day and defeats Jafar by using his clever nature that he gained from being a street rat, rather than his fakeness of a prince. This is what makes Jasmine fall for him, and seeing that Aladdin makes Jasmine happy, the Sultan changes the law so that they can be married. By being and accepting who he is and not trying to be someone who he's not, Aladdin is able to get what he wants, and while lying was leading him to that path, it wasn't right, and he was dishonest with Jasmine and lost his friendship with all of his friends. I think that Aladdin's character arc is done really well, and is easily my favorite of the film. The next character I'd like to discuss is the villain of the film, Jafar. Jafar definitely meets the criteria for being a great villain, and there's a reason why he is one of Disney's most iconic villains. He has a secret leverage with his staff that allows him to manipulate the Sultan. He has charm and wit, and his pet Iago is also a ton of fun, and they bounce off of each other really well. Jafar also serves as a nice contrast to Aladdin, as they are both displeased with their current position in life and want more, with Jafar being the royal vizier and wanting to be the Sultan. Jafar is an example of what could have happened to Aladdin had he not realized his mistakes. When he gains control over the lamp, he uses his first wish to become the Sultan so that he has political power. He then uses his second wish to become the greatest sorcerer in the world, giving him physical power. At this point, he is finally satisfied because he believes that he is the greatest and most powerful in the world now. When Aladdin points out that the genie is technically more powerful than him, as he gave him his power and can take it away should someone wish for it, Jafar, left in a blind hunger for power, wishes to become a genie, but becomes trapped inside the lamp until his master releases him, because of the way that the genie's powers work. In his conquest for power and getting more than he has, he eternally traps himself, similar to how Aladdin almost did when he made all of his friends turn away from him. And the ending, of course, is Jafar's best moment. With his ultimate power, he finally gets all that he wants, and he fully basks in the glory of it. He turns into a giant snake when fighting Aladdin. He traps Jasmine in a giant hourglass, and his raw strength gives a complete sense of hopelessness for the heroes, forcing Aladdin to use his true cunning nature as opposed to Prince Ali's strength. Overall, just a really good villain in the start, and especially in the finish. I suppose it makes the most sense to next talk about Jasmine. Being one of the most famous Disney princesses, of which there are many, I would say that she is definitely one where her praise is deserved, but at the same time, I think I would rank her near the bottom of the good ones. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that I think she is a good character, but she lacks that extra something that makes her stand out to me from from any other good character. Take Belle, for example, in Disney's previous film, Beauty and the Beast, in which both Belle and the Beast have their own character arcs in the film, but in the bond they have, they're able to aid each other through their arcs. Jasmine, I feel, doesn't really have the same relationship with Aladdin. In the first act, she is very much similar to Aladdin in that she also feels trapped by her position in society, and that stays true for the rest of the film, too. My issue is that it isn't really brought up again. Jasmine's character arc seems to benefit Aladdin's, but Aladdin's doesn't seem to ever quite do the same for her. I guess I just would have liked to see this problem fleshed out a bit more is all. With Aladdin as the protagonist, we get to see his reaction to everything, but with Jasmine, we hardly get any time alone with her to see how she's feeling outside of the first act. And when we do, it mostly contains things that we already know. I suppose that Aladdin's arc does support Jasmine's, as she doesn't want to be married off, and instead wants to choose someone of her liking, which is understandable, and her and Aladdin like each other, but he's not a prince. So by marrying him in the end anyways, it fulfills Jasmine's arc in that way. But I just feel like there could have been a bit more there. Something in the middle, perhaps. Maybe a small adventure of her own. Maybe giving her a bit more character outside of what the story requires. I don't know. In the end, she's not a bad character. She fulfills all the necessary components. But I can't help but feel like there could have been a bit more. Though one thing I would like to know is that I really like how Jasmine only falls for Prince Ali after she's certain that it's Aladdin. It would have pretty much ruined the song A Whole New World if that didn't happen. The last thing I'd like to discuss is the ensemble of other characters in the film, which really adds a lot to the film. First of all, the genie, who is arguably the most outrageous to bundle together with the rest of the characters. But I put him here because I really don't have much to say that hasn't been said a million times, and I agree with it all perfectly. He's funny, he's great, he has a great character arc about not wanting to serve a master, he's super kind to Aladdin, going above and beyond to see that he gets what he wants, and he's played by Robin Williams. What more could you want? Abu is also really funny. He doesn't have much to do but be Aladdin's sidekick. But he fits that role nicely, and it's pretty funny when he's just plain rude to people, but it's sweet to see his kind side too. Also, he is an elephant for a good portion of the middle of the film, and I think that's funny. The magic carpet also doesn't have much plot relevance, but at the same time I think he's a really cool character. The way the magic carpet is able to wordlessly express emotion is amazing, and thanks entirely to the great animation. Raja, Jasmine's pet tiger, is pretty underutilized in the film, so there isn't much to discuss. But I don't know, he's a tiger, he's cool. The Sultan is pretty fun in his short amount of screen time. He's just kind of a goofy character, but it's still sweet to see that he wants the best for his daughter despite wanting to marry her off. But he gets redeemed at the end when he changes the law so that Aladdin and Jasmine can be together. Iago, as I've mentioned briefly before, is a really fun character. Now that I think about it, he's just kind of like Meowth from the Pokemon series, being the animal sidekick to the villains who can talk for some reason despite no other animal having the ability to speak. Overall, the other characters in this film do a lot for the story, and they make good use of their limited screen time. I give Aladdin a 9 out of 10 for being a very fun film. It delivers a nice story with an equally nice message. Its characters are very fun and its jokes are very funny. It's a really fun time overall that always makes for a fun rewatch. As I stated in the beginning of the video, Aladdin did get 2 direct-to-DVD sequels, and while I might review them at some point, this is actually the beginning of my series of reviews for the Walt Disney Animation Studios movies. I decided to go through them alphabetically after realizing that Aladdin comes first, and I just so happened to review it first. So I decided that I kinda had to at that point. Sorry, Zootopia fans, it's gonna be a while. Well, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to share any opinions you had on the movie. A new episode releases each week, so stay tuned to see which film I cover next. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.